The rain hammered against the windows of Zainab's cramped one-bedroom apartment in Yaba, creating a rhythm that matched her growing anxiety. She stared at her laptop screen, refreshing her bank account for the third time in 10 minutes, as if the numbers might magically change. They didn't. The balance remained stubbornly low, barely enough to cover next month's rent, let alone food, transport, and the mounting credit card debt from her father's medical bills. Her phone buzzed with another message from her landlord, Mr. Okafor. Madame Zainab, I need next 3 months' advance. Too many people want this place. She closed her eyes, fighting back tears. At 28, with a good job as a marketing executive at a mid-sized firm in Victoria Island, she should have been thriving. But life had other plans. Her father's stroke 6 months ago had drained her savings, and her mother's constant calls for more money were becoming unbearable. Zara, your father needs new medication. The hospital says. The voicemails were always the same. Zainab looked around her apartment. It was small but tastefully decorated with her collection of African art, Ankara throw pillows, and the vintage mirror she'd bought at Lekki Market. The second bedroom, really just a glorified storage room, sat empty, filled with boxes she'd been meaning to sort through for months. She opened her laptop and navigated to a roommate finder website. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. She'd always valued her privacy, her space, her independence. The thought of sharing her sanctuary with a stranger made her stomach churn. But what choice did she have? Seeking responsible female roommate for spacious 2-bedroom apartment in Yaba, she typed. Rent is 400,000 near a monthly, split equally, must be clean, quiet and drama-free. Contact Zainab for viewings. She posted the ad across multiple platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, roommate forums, and immediately felt a wave of regret. What if she got a crazy person? Lagos was full of stories about nightmare roommates who stole, brought strange men home, or worse, practiced witchcraft. Her best friend Kemi had warned her. Zainab, be careful. You don't know these people. Remember what happened to that girl in Surulere? Her roommate was stealing her destiny. But desperation had a way of making superstition seem less important than survival. The responses came flooding in within hours. Most were from students looking for cheap accommodation, young men pretending to be women, or people whose profiles screamed trouble. Zainab deleted most without responding. Then, 3 days later, she received a message that made her pause. Hello, Zainab. My name is Soraya. I saw your post and I think we might be a perfect match. I'm 28, work in tech, very neat and quiet. I'm also dealing with family financial issues and looking for a place to call home. Would love to meet you. Here's my number. Something about the message felt genuine. Zainab checked Soraya's profile, professional photos, working at a reputable tech startup, mutual friends with some of Zainab's colleagues. She looked normal, nice even. Zainab called the number. It rang 3 times before a warm, slightly familiar voice answered. Hello. Hi, is this Soraya? This is Zainab about the apartment. Oh my God, Zainab. Thank you so much for calling. I was hoping you would. There was genuine excitement in her voice, the kind that made Zainab smile despite herself. They talked for 30 minutes. Soraya explained that she'd just moved back to Lagos from Abuja after a bad breakup and a career change. She was starting fresh, needed a place quickly, and Zainab's apartment sounded perfect. She was respectful, asked good questions, and laughed at Zainab's jokes. When can you come see the place? Zainab asked. How about tomorrow evening, around 7? Perfect, I'll text you the address. After hanging up, Zainab felt a flutter of hope. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. The next evening, Zainab spent an hour cleaning the apartment, arranging fresh flowers, and hiding her most personal items. She changed outfits 3 times before settling on casual jeans and her favorite Ankara top. She wanted to look approachable, but put together. At exactly 7 p.m., her doorbell rang. Zainab opened the door and her breath caught in her throat. Standing in her doorway was a woman who could have been her mirror image. Same height, about 5 feet 6 inches, same deep brown skin tone, same oval-shaped face with high cheekbones, same full lips. The only visible differences were their hairstyles. Zainab wore her natural hair in a short, tapered cut, while Soraya had long box braids, and their fashion choices. Soraya wore a simple white shirt and black jeans, while Zainab preferred bold prints. Zainab, Soraya asked, her eyes widening slightly. Wow, has anyone ever told you that you look like… You, Zainab finished, laughing nervously. I was just thinking the same thing. They both laughed, and the moment of strangeness passed. Soraya stepped inside, her eyes lighting up as she looked around. This place is beautiful. I love your style. Is that a Yusuf Grillo print? Zainab was impressed. Most people didn't recognize the famous Nigerian artist's work. You know Grillo? I studied art history briefly in university before switching to computer science. I've always loved Nigerian art. For the next hour, they talked about everything: art, music, Lagos traffic, their jobs, their families. Soraya was easy to talk to, surprisingly easy. She laughed at the same things, had similar tastes in movies, even liked the same food. By the time she left, Zainab knew she'd found her roommate. So, when can you move in? Zainab asked. Soraya's face broke into a huge smile. How about this weekend? I can bring my things on Saturday. Perfect. I'll send you the account details for the deposit. After Soraya left, Zainab called Kemi. I found a roommate. Already? Zara, you need to be careful. Did you ask enough questions? She's great, Kemi. Seriously, she's like me, but in a good way. What do you mean, like you? We just clicked. We even look alike. It's funny. There was a pause on the other end. You look alike? Zainab, that's weird. It's Lagos. Everyone looks like someone. Remember when we saw those 3 women who all looked like Genevieve Nagy at the mall? That's different. Just be careful, okay? There are 419 everywhere. But Zainab wasn't worried. For the first time in months, something felt right. Saturday came quickly. Soraya arrived with surprisingly few belongings: 2 large suitcases, a laptop bag, and a single box of books. No furniture, no kitchen items, no decorations. Is this everything? Zainab asked, surprised. Soraya's smile faltered slightly. I had to leave most of my things in Abuja. The breakup was sudden. I just grabbed what I could and left. I'll buy new things gradually. Zainab felt a pang of sympathy. Don't worry about it. You can use anything of mine until you get settled. Really, you'd do that? Of course, that's what roommates do, right? Soraya's eyes glistened slightly. Thank you, Zainab. You have no idea how much this means to me. They spent the day helping Soraya unpack and settle into the smaller room. As they worked, Zainab noticed little things. The way Soraya organized her clothes by color, just like she did. The way she hummed while working, the same habit Zainab had. The way she folded her clothes with the same precise corners. We're so similar, Zainab commented, laughing. Twins separated at birth, Soraya joked, but something in her tone was odd, too serious for a joke. That night, they ordered suya from a nearby spot and sat on the balcony, watching Lagos's chaotic beauty unfold below them. The city never slept. Cars honked, generators hummed, people shouted, music played from multiple directions. It was home. So tell me about this ex-boyfriend, Zainab asked. The one in Abuja. Soraya was quiet for a moment. His name was Ibrahim. We were together for 3 years. I thought we'd get married. Then I found out he was cheating with his colleague. When I confronted him, he chose her. Her voice was flat, emotionless. I packed my things that night and came back to Lagos. I needed a fresh start. I'm sorry, Zainab said. That must have been terrible. What about you? Anyone special? Zainab shook her head. I was seeing someone, Malik, but we broke up about 4 months ago. He said I was too focused on work and my family. He wanted someone who had time for him. She shrugged. Maybe he was right. I don't know anymore. Do you still love him? The question caught Zainab off guard. I don't know. I miss him sometimes. But missing someone and loving them are different things, right? Soraya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Right. Over the next 2 weeks, life fell into an easy rhythm. Soraya was the perfect roommate, clean, considerate, quiet. She paid her share of bills on time, bought groceries without being asked, and even cooked dinner several times. Zainab felt her stress levels dropping for the first time in months. But small things started to catch her attention. It began with Soraya asking to borrow clothes. Zara, can I wear your blue dress to this work event? I haven't had time to buy new clothes yet. Of course, Zainab said. Then it was perfume. What's that amazing scent you wear? Jo Malone. It's my signature scent. A week later, Zainab noticed her Jo Malone bottle was nearly empty, though she'd barely used it. She found it in Soraya's room when she went to borrow a phone charger. Then Soraya started wearing her hair differently. The box braids were replaced with a short tapered cut, exactly like Zainab's. I needed a change, Soraya explained when Zainab commented. I saw your style and thought, why not? You don't mind, do you? No, of course not, Zainab said, but a small, uncomfortable feeling settled in her stomach. Kemi noticed immediately when they met for lunch the following week. Zara, why does your roommate look like your twin? And why is she dressed exactly like you? Zainab looked at the photo Soraya had posted on Instagram that morning, wearing Zainab's Ankara dress, her hairstyle, even standing in front of Zainab's beloved Grillo print. She's just borrowing stuff. She doesn't have much. It's creepy, Zara. You need to set boundaries. But Zainab didn't want to rock the boat. Soraya paid her bills, the apartment was peaceful, and Zainab's financial situation had stabilized. What did it matter if they looked similar? Lagos was full of coincidences. That weekend, Zainab ran into Malik at a restaurant in Lekki. Zainab? He looked surprised and pleased. Wow, you look amazing. It's been too long. They talked for a few minutes, awkward small talk about work and mutual friends, but something in his eyes suggested he was reconsidering their breakup. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime, he suggested. I'd like to catch up properly. Zainab hesitated, then nodded. Sure, I'd like that. She texted Soraya when she got home. You won't believe who I ran into today. My ex, Malik. He wants to get coffee. Soraya's response came immediately. That's great. Maybe it's fate. Tell me everything about him. And Zainab did. Over wine that night, she told Soraya everything about Malik, where they met, what he liked, his favorite restaurants, his family background, even his peculiar habit of always ordering 2 orders of peppered snails because one was never enough. Soraya listened with rapt attention, asking questions, laughing at the funny stories, sympathizing with the painful ones. He sounds amazing, Soraya said. You should definitely see him again. 2 days later, Zainab's phone buzzed with a message from Malik. Hey, something came up. Let's rain check that coffee. She felt disappointed but not surprised. That was Malik, unreliable when it came to making plans. What she didn't know was that at that exact moment, Malik was having coffee with someone else. Someone who looked exactly like Zainab, dressed in clothes Zainab owned, wearing Zainab's perfume, and telling stories about their shared past with intimate detail. Someone who had introduced herself as Zainab. Chapter 2. The Imitation. 3 weeks after Soraya moved in, Zainab started finding things out of place. Small things at first, her favorite lipstick in a different drawer, her laptop moved from its usual spot on the dining table, her journal tucked between different books on the shelf. She chalked it up to Soraya being helpful, tidying up, maybe reading while Zainab was at work. But then it escalated. Zainab came home one evening to find Soraya sitting at her vanity, applying makeup using Zainab's products, following a tutorial on her phone. She was concentrating so intensely that she didn't hear Zainab enter. "Soraya," Zainab said softly. Soraya jumped, knocking over a bottle of foundation. "Oh my God, Zara, you scared me." She laughed nervously, wiping up the spill. "Sorry, I should have asked before using your makeup. You always look so put together and I wanted to learn." "It's fine," Zainab said, though she felt oddly violated. "Just ask next time, okay?" "Of course, I'm sorry." But the boundary had been crossed, and Soraya seemed to take Zainab's mild reaction as permission to blur more lines. The next morning, Zainab discovered Soraya had created a Spotify playlist titled Zara's Vibe, filled with every song Zainab had ever mentioned liking. When she checked Soraya's Instagram, she found posts that mirrored her own. Same angles, same captions, even the same hashtags. "Soraya is basically your clone now," Kemi said over the phone. "This is beyond weird, Zara. It's identity theft." "That's dramatic. She's just finding herself after her breakup. People do that. People don't try to become their roommate." But confrontation wasn't Zainab's style. She was a people pleaser, a peacemaker. She told herself it was harmless, even flattering in a strange way. Imitation was the sincerest form of flattery, right? Then Malik started texting again. "Had the best time catching up the other day. You seem different, more relaxed. I've been thinking about us a lot." Zainab stared at her phone in confusion. "What are you talking about? We didn't meet up. You cancelled." The three dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "What? Zainab, we had coffee at that place in Lekki last week. We talked for 2 hours. You even told me about your dad's recovery." Zainab's blood ran cold. "Malik, that wasn't me." "Stop playing. You wore that blue dress I always loved. Ordered your usual cappuccino with extra foam. We laughed about that time we got caught in the rain at Bar Beach. Are you feeling okay?" She called him immediately. "Malik, listen to me carefully. I did not meet you for coffee. I haven't seen you since we ran into each other at the restaurant 3 weeks ago." His voice became concerned. "Zainab, this isn't funny. If you regret meeting up, just say so, but don't gaslight me." "I'm not—" She stopped. A horrifying realization was dawning. "Malik, send me a photo from that coffee date." "What? Why?" "Just do it, please." A minute later, her phone chimed. The photo made her stomach drop. There, sitting across from Malik at a cozy cafe, was someone who looked exactly like her. Same hairstyle, same dress. Her blue dress, the one she'd lent to Soraya the week before. Same face, same smile. But it wasn't her. It was Soraya. "I have to go," she whispered, and hung up despite Malik's protests. She stormed into Soraya's room without knocking. Soraya was at her laptop, but she quickly closed it when Zainab entered. "Why didn't you knock?" Soraya asked, but there was no real indignation in her voice, just curiosity. "Why did you meet my ex-boyfriend and pretend to be me?" Soraya's face remained completely calm. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me. Malik sent me a photo. That was you." "Oh?" Soraya stood up slowly. "That?" "Yes, that. What the hell, Soraya? Why would you do that?" "He texted me by mistake," Soraya said smoothly. "The message was clearly meant for you, but he must have had the wrong number. I didn't realize it was your ex until I got there. By then, it seemed awkward to correct him, so I just went with it." "You went with it? For 2 hours? You let him think you were me." "I was going to tell you, but I didn't want to upset you. You've been so stressed with work and your dad. I thought I was helping." "Helping? By stealing my identity and dating my ex-boyfriend?" Soraya's expression finally shifted. Something cold flickered behind her eyes. "I wasn't dating him. We just talked. Besides, you said you were over him. So what does it matter?" Zainab felt like she was losing her mind. "It matters because you pretended to be me. That's insane." "Insane," Soraya laughed, but it was a bitter sound. You want to know what's insane, Zainab? I'll tell you. But whatever she was about to say was interrupted by Zainab's phone ringing. It was her mother. Zainab, your father collapsed again. We're at the hospital. You need to come now. The confrontation with Soraya was forgotten as Zainab grabbed her keys and bag. I have to go. My dad. I'll come with you, Soraya said, her voice returning to its usual warmth. No, just stay here. We'll talk when I get back. But when Zainab returned home at 3 a.m., exhausted and wrung out from hours at the hospital, her father was stable but would need surgery, she found Soraya waiting up for her with tea and sympathy. I'm so sorry about your dad. Is he okay? Zainab was too tired to maintain her anger. She collapsed on the couch and told Soraya everything: the mounting medical bills, her mother's constant pressure, her fear of losing her father. Soraya listened, made sympathetic sounds, even cried a little. By dawn, they'd somehow reconciled. Soraya apologized profusely for the Malik incident, claiming she'd been confused and stupid. Zainab, desperate not to lose her financial stability and too exhausted to fight, accepted the apology. But she didn't forget. She just pushed it to the back of her mind, where uncomfortable truths went to hide. The real trouble started 2 weeks later at Zainab's office. Zainab worked on the 7th floor of a gleaming building in Victoria Island, managing social media campaigns for various corporate clients. It was a good job, challenging, well-paying, with a path to partnership if she played her cards right. She was in a meeting with her boss, Mrs. O'Gunley, and the creative team when her colleague Bisola leaned over and whispered, Zara, I didn't know your sister worked here too. When did she start? What? I don't have a sister. The woman who looks exactly like you. I saw her on the 4th floor this morning. She even dresses like you. Zainab's heart sank. Excuse me, she muttered, and left the meeting. She took the elevator down to the 4th floor, the sales department. And there, sitting in one of the glass-walled conference rooms, laughing with the sales director, was Soraya. Wearing Zainab's clothes, with Zainab's hairstyle, carrying Zainab's favorite bag. Zainab burst into the conference room, ignoring the startled looks. Soraya, what are you doing here? Soraya turned, her smile never faltering. Zara, what a coincidence. I had a meeting with Mr. Okonkwo about a potential tech partnership between my company and yours. Your company? You told me you worked for a startup in Ikeja. I do. This is business. Mr. Okonkwo, a portly man in his 50s, looked between them with confusion. Do you two know each other? We're roommates, Zainab said tersely. Roommates? He looked shocked. You look like twins. We get that a lot, Soraya said cheerfully. Zara, I'll meet you at home later. We can catch up. I should let you get back to your meeting. Zainab wanted to scream, to call her out, to do something. But professional decorum trapped her. She couldn't make a scene in front of her colleague. She returned to her meeting shaking with anger. That evening, she came home to find Soraya cooking dinner, humming one of Zainab's favorite songs. We need to talk, Zainab said. I know. Soraya turned off the stove. You're upset about today. Upset? Soraya, you're showing up at my workplace, wearing my clothes, meeting with my colleagues. This has gone too far. Too far? Soraya's voice was quiet. Zainab, do you want to know why I'm doing this? Yes, I really do. Soraya sat down at the kitchen table, her hands folded in front of her. When she looked up, her eyes were filled with tears. Because I've spent my entire life watching you from the outside, she said softly. Watching you have everything I should have had. Zainab felt a chill run down her spine. What are you talking about? We're not just roommates who look alike, Zainab. Soraya's smile was sad and terrible. We're twins, and your parents chose you. The world tilted. Zainab gripped the edge of the table. That's not possible. I don't have a twin. You do. You did. You always have. Soraya pulled out her phone and showed Zainab a photo, an old birth certificate. Read it. With trembling hands, Zainab looked at the document. It was from a hospital in Enugu, dated 28 years ago. Baby A, female, 6.3 pounds. Baby B, female, 6.1 pounds. Mother, Hawa Yusuf. Hawa Yusuf was her mother's name. This can't be real, Zainab whispered. It's real. We were born 3 minutes apart. You were baby A, I was baby B, and our parents decided one child was enough. Chapter 3. The Truth. Zainab couldn't breathe. The kitchen walls seemed to close in around her as she stared at the birth certificate on Soraya's phone. The document looked authentic, yellowed with age, official stamps from Mother of Mercy Hospital in Enugu, her mother's signature at the bottom. This is a joke, Zainab said, but her voice lacked conviction. A sick, elaborate joke. Is it? Soraya pulled out more documents from her bag, photos this time, old, faded photographs. The first showed two identical newborns in a hospital bassinet, both wearing pink caps, both crying. The second showed a young woman who looked exactly like Zainab's mother, holding two babies. The third showed the same woman, but holding only one baby, her face a mixture of relief and guilt. Where did you get these? The orphanage, St. Catherine's in Enugu, that's where they left me. Soraya's voice was eerily calm now, as if she'd rehearsed this speech 1,000 times. I was 3 days old, no note, no explanation, just a baby in a basket with a single photograph tucked in my blanket, the one of our mother holding both of us. Zainab shook her head violently. My parents wouldn't do that. They couldn't. Why not? Because they're good people. Because they go to mosque every Friday. Because your mother calls you 5 times a day asking for money? Soraya laughed bitterly. They had their reasons, I'm sure. Maybe they couldn't afford 2 babies. Maybe they didn't want twins. You know how superstitious people can be. Maybe they just liked you better. Stop it, Zainab's voice cracked. Even if this were true, and I don't believe it is, why are you doing this? Why pretend to be me? Why infiltrate my life? Soraya stood up slowly, walking to the window overlooking the chaotic Lagos street below. Because I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what my life would have been like if they'd chosen me instead of you. That's insane! Is it? Soraya turned, and for the first time Zainab saw raw pain in her eyes. Do you know what it's like growing up in an orphanage, Zainab? Do you know what it's like to watch other children get adopted while you're passed over year after year, to turn 18 and be released onto the streets with nothing but a bag of donated clothes and 5,000 naira? Soraya, I had nothing, no family, no connections, no safety net. Everything I have, I fought for. Every meal, every opportunity, every moment of happiness. Meanwhile, you had parents who loved you, a home, an education, opportunities. You had the life that should have been mine. Zainab felt tears streaming down her face. If this is true, if we really are sisters, then I didn't know. I'm not responsible for what our parents did. Aren't you? Soraya's voice turned cold. You benefited from their choice every day of your life. You got to be Zainab Yusuf, the beloved daughter. I was just Soraya, the orphan with no last name. I made up Okafor when I was 16 because I was tired of having no identity. So this is revenge? You're trying to steal my life because you think I stole yours? Steal? Soraya laughed. Zainab, I'm not stealing anything. I'm just trying it on, seeing how it fits. Your clothes, your style, your ex-boyfriend, your job opportunities. I wanted to see what it felt like to be you, to be the chosen one. You're crazy, Zainab whispered. Maybe, or maybe I'm the only sane one here. Soraya moved closer. Tell me, Zainab, when are you planning to call your mother and ask if any of this is true? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Zainab grabbed her phone with shaking hands and dialed. It rang 4 times before her mother answered, her voice groggy with sleep. Zainab, it's past midnight. Is everything okay? Mummy, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. What is it? Zainab took a deep breath. Did you give birth to twins? The silence that followed was deafening. Zainab could hear her mother's breathing change, becoming rapid and shallow. Mummy, answer me. Did you have twins? Zainab, where is this coming from? Just answer the question. Another long pause. Then, in a small, broken voice, yes. The world stopped. Even though Soraya had shown her proof, hearing her mother confirm it was like being struck by lightning. Why? Zainab's voice was barely a whisper. Why did you only keep one of us? Her mother began crying. It was complicated, Zara. We were so young, your father had just started his business. We could barely afford one child. So you abandoned the other one, left her in an orphanage? It wasn't like that. We thought we'd come back for her. We told ourselves it was temporary, but then your father's business failed, and we were struggling, and time kept passing, and... She dissolved into sobs. Does Daddy know I know? Your father. He never wanted to talk about it. It broke him, that decision. He wanted to keep both of you, but I was the one who insisted. I was afraid, Zainab. Afraid we couldn't provide for 2 children, afraid of what people would say, afraid of everything. And now I live with that guilt every day. Where is she now, my sister? I don't know. The orphanage wouldn't tell us when we finally went back. They said it was too late, that she'd been adopted. We tried to find her, but... Her voice trailed off. She wasn't adopted, Mummy. She grew up in that orphanage, and now she's found me. Her mother gasped. What? Where is she? She's my roommate. Subhanallah, her mother breathed. Zainab, you need to be careful. You don't know what she wants, what she's planning. What she's planning? What she's planning? Zainab was screaming now. You abandoned her. You left your own child in an orphanage and never looked back, and you're worried about what she's planning? Zainab, please. But Zainab hung up. She turned to Soraya, who had been watching the entire conversation with an unreadable expression. You got your answer, Soraya said softly. What do you want from me? Zainab asked. What's your endgame here? I don't know yet. Soraya smiled, but it was a terrible smile, full of pain and rage and something else. Something that looked almost like love. Maybe I just want to be close to you, to the sister I never knew. Maybe I want you to understand what you had while I had nothing. Maybe I want to destroy everything you love so you know how it feels. Or maybe, she continued, moving closer until they were face to face, mirror images in different emotional states. I want us to be the family we were supposed to be. Sisters, twins, 2 halves of the same whole. Zainab felt like she was drowning. I need you to leave, pack your things and go. This is my home too, remember? I pay half the rent. You can't just kick me out. Fine, then I'll leave. And go where? Back to your parents who've been lying to you your entire life? To your ex-boyfriend who can't even tell us apart? Face it, Zainab, you're stuck with me, just like I've always been stuck knowing you existed somewhere, living the life I should have had. Zainab grabbed her bag and keys and fled the apartment. She drove aimlessly through Lagos's midnight streets, tears blurring her vision, until she found herself outside Kemi's house in Lekki. Her friend answered the door in her pajamas, took one look at Zainab's face, and pulled her inside. Over tea and tears, Zainab told her everything. Kemi listened without interrupting, her expression growing more horrified with each revelation. This is like something from a Nollywood movie, Kemi said when Zainab finished. Zara, you need to go to the police. And tell them what? My twin sister who my parents abandoned is living with me and borrowing my clothes. That's not illegal. She impersonated you to meet your ex-boyfriend. She's showing up at your workplace. This is harassment, maybe even identity theft. She hasn't stolen anything. She's just existing. Existing in my space, wearing my face, living a version of my life. That's even creepier. Zainab, she could be dangerous. You don't know what she's capable of. But Zainab was beginning to realize something terrible. She didn't fear Soraya. She pitied her. And underneath the shock and anger, there was guilt. Survivor's guilt for being the chosen one. "What would you do?" Zainab asked softly, "if you found out your parents had abandoned your identical twin and never told you?" The story continues. Comment part 2 for the continuation.